I had a nightmare. It wasn't the first, and it wouldn't be the last since I brought my 3-day-old son home from the hospital. But this one was different. It terrified me because it didn't terrify me. I dreamed I stuck the baby in the toaster oven. But I did it just to dry him off, so that made it seem okay. I woke up in tears, running to check that his little face was not in fact blackened and crumbling like burnt toast. What kind of mother lets that kind of idea enter her mind? That red toaster oven was once a prized wedding gift, but now it taunted me. It stood as a sentinel between the kitchen and the living room, preventing me from carrying my infant son from one room to another. What if I did it? What if I had the dream again and in a sleep-deprived stupor actually stuck my baby in the toaster oven? Had I lost control of my own thoughts? What would I think next? If anyone knew what a horrible person I was, they would take my son away. It wasn't until I stood in the kitchen with my 7-pound, 6-ounce, 19-inch baby and realized he would not fit in the toaster oven unless the laws of physics failed at the same time my sanity went. If I tried half asleep, I would wake up trying to make him fit. Maybe I wasn't so dangerous, but I was still a horrible mother. I didn't like that baby anyway. I mean, I wanted him. I wanted to like him. I wanted to love him. But he remained a thing, a needy, screaming, insatiable thing that the hospital just turned me loose with and expected me to keep alive. I had a houseplant once. I named it Lazarus because I always forgot to water it and I would think it was dead. But then I'd throw a cup of water on the brown leaves and dirt and it would spring back to life. I bathed the doll in the parent safety class, but I was still convinced that I was going to drown and or drop this floppy, wiggly, shrieking thing they sent me home with unsupervised. I guess they hadn't noticed that I was already a horrible mother. When he was finally born in the wee hours of the morning, hour 32 of labor, they may as well have handed me an alien. And then I threw up, and they took him away for the next 6 hours. I was too weak to care for myself, much less a tiny, helpless alien. The nightmares started, and the tears came in torrents soon after. Our first night at home, the darkness crept in like a suffocating fog. I was afraid of myself. I was afraid that I had lost control of my thoughts, and there was a monster within looking for an opening. I asked God, how could this fit his plan for me? I was treated for what was labeled postpartum depression, and I limped along through the first year doing what had to be done, proving to myself I would not be that horrible person, no matter how inadequate I was. But I couldn't look at that red toaster oven the same. Fast forward to my beautiful healing birth 2 years later. I could not have asked for a better experience, in control of my own body and healthy enough to bond with and care for my baby right away. I started depression medication immediately in hopes of staving off the darkness. This time it was more of a lingering heaviness than a smothering despair. But in the coming weeks, I found myself consumed with anxiety about the health of my children. Why is the baby crying? Is he sick? Why won't the doctor call me back yet? If his ear infection didn't clear up with the first round of treatment, then it could spread to his jaw and explode into his brain and kill him. That used to happen, right? Reasonable worries chased quickly down the hole to crazy town. But my kids really were sickly, and it was my job to make sure they didn't die. Then one day, a friend's social media account was hacked, and their account was plastered with disturbing graphic pictures. I couldn't unsee it. I dreamed about it. I tried to sing songs and think about other things, but it was like telling myself not to think about pink elephants and making them the only thing I could think about. I closed my eyes and the picture was there. It was like the shiny red toaster oven all over again. I left work with little explanation. I cried until I threw up. I crawled in bed and pulled the covers over my head. I left a message with my midwife's office requesting someone call me ASAP. I didn't feel secure with my own thoughts. Like something crazy or dangerous would jump into my head at any minute and I would be a slave to the intruder. I chose my words carefully for fear of finding myself in a padded room stripped of my children. I saw my doctor and I told her about the gory photo and the toaster oven before it. I'd never told anyone about the toaster oven. Not really. Not without laughing it off and looking for validation as one of those crazy hormonal things that happens when you have a baby, like crying at breakfast cereal commercials. I analyzed her brow for subtext. I saw concern, genuine concern. That was the first day I heard the acronym PPOCD. I used to tease my husband that his need for neatness was obsessive compulsive disorder, but I did not have a concept of what that really meant. My mind conjured up a caricature of a germophobic person who compulsively counts and checks things. I didn't know anyone like that in real life. I wasn't like that. As I began working with a counselor and learning about postpartum obsessive compulsive disorder, I realized I wasn't that person turning on lights or locking doors 7 times every time. But if I was anxious, I would always feel better eating a bowl of Fruit Loops in the order of the color of the rainbow. I was a person who caught myself running my fingertips over my eyebrows, feeling for loose or stray hairs, taking great satisfaction in every imperfection I could eliminate. But everyone has their quirky little things, right? I'm interesting. I'm a thinker. I like order and I strive for excellence and perfection. But then I found out that the red toaster oven had a name. Intrusive thoughts are a hallmark of obsessive compulsive disorder. I worked through the reading my counselor had assigned and tears streamed down my face as I read story after story that I could have written myself. Thoughts I couldn't shake. Thoughts I did not like or want to think about. Thoughts that made me question if I was in control of my actions. I really had a diagnosis. As I processed that something was in fact wrong with me, I came to understand that something was wrong with my brain. It was a strangely heart-rending relief to know I was not a horrible person. My brain was malfunctioning, and I could learn to manage it. As I learned more about PPOCD, I decided the tendencies had always been there, but I had always used them to my advantage. People like you when you're conscientious, detail-oriented, and task-driven. As is often the case with PPOCD, the hormone crash that follows having a baby turned manageable tendencies into monstrosities. But the monsters had a name, and I had a promise from God. In the book of 2 Timothy, it says that God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but of power, love, and sound mind. Sound mind. I've been a broken, hot mess many times in my life, but rarely have I been called timid. Not everyone will understand, but I decided that I won't accept shame. Diabetics don't live in shame of a faulty pancreas, and I would not live in shame of a misfiring brain. I took back the power, and I unplugged the toaster oven.